And this time with sound. It's the way. Thank you, Elmo, for pointing that out to us. It's always the way that whatever that so far, every time I've done one of these, there's always been something which has gone kind of slightly astray and what have you. And it's always the case of like there's too many bits of tech to kind of get right and what have you. So okay, thanks again, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. Really excited to welcome into the room. We have Nanette, we've got Dan, and we've got Paul. It's going to have a really kind of like fun time having a chat with you all, finding out about the really exciting film that's coming out very very soon that you all kind of feature in. So that's really cool. Be asking little bits about your characters and yourself and that. So, and also kind of like wave to everybody in the old
Hello.
the streamer land, the land of streamers. I shall be keeping an eye on a zillion screens, making sure that we're fielding any questions that you have. If you've got some questions for us, then please feel free to type them up into the chat, and then we'll try and answer those questions as best as we can, and we'll go through. So yeah, it's a great big kind of warm sort of like welcome. So remind us again. I mean, I know we've already had like a video the other week with Erica and Zoe and Becca, but remind us again for those that maybe didn't catch the last kind of stream that we did. What's the Bond, the film? What's it all about?
Well, some might call it a zombie rom-com. Others might not. Dan, I think Dan's got a better explanation than me.
Oh, okay, sure. The Bond is set in a post-apocalyptic zombie universe, if you would like to call it. And the military have not only found a way to temporarily give these zombies their consciousness back, that lasts a little while, but they've also devised a way to use them on field exercises, in missions, and in training. And,
okay.
They've taken in these zombies, and they are classed as combats. And people in the army, they're being used to train these combats up for more missions. There's a lot of action, comedy, zombies, and as Paul said, romance as well.
Okay, intriguing, very interesting. What was it that attracted you to kind of take part in the film?
I'll answer this one. I've worked with Erica for a long time. I don't anymore, but I used to, and she's just phenomenally creative in all fields, in all aspects. And I remember her telling me about her idea for this film when we were at a pub, and it sounded really intriguing, and I never thought she'd actually make the film, and when she said that she wanted to, and she asked me if I wanted to be part of it, and I just thought, yeah, why not? And it was a lot of fun. I'm really glad I did.
Oh, that's really cool. We've got a hello from South Africa.
It's my sister.
So big hello from the other side of the world. I hope you're all keeping safe over there as well. And how about Paul? How about yourself? What was it that
myself? I was just at Progress Theatre one evening, and Erica came up to me and enticed me with biscuits. It's like a little trail leading to the location site. No, it was beer. She came after a performance, I think it was Betrayal, or Right Fest, can't remember which one, and said, "Oh, do you fancy being in the film?" I'm like, why not? Give it a try. And it's an intriguing premise, so I thought, why not give it a go?
Oh, cool. Dan?
Yes. I actually knew about this through Nanette, actually. Nanette and I worked in a few theatre performances, and she just messaged me this link saying, are you interested in partaking in an indie film? And so I just thought, yeah, you know what, just give it a go. And it was just absolutely amazing. The people there were lovely. And it was just a fantastic story. So I'm really glad. Thank you very much, Nanette.
Oh, you're so welcome, Dan. It was lovely working with you once again.
Oh, likewise.
Now, Nanette, your character Alex is a handler. Is that the right term?
Yeah.
It's just quite a challenging and sometimes kind of stressful relationship with the combat. How do you think your character managed to find the right kind of balance to, like win over the confidence that they had in you?
So my character was initially a dog trainer, and when she was invited into this group of handlers, I think she had a lot of, it's kind of like an ethical dilemma as to how do you approach training someone that's now a something and should really be on your level, but just isn't. So she tried a lot of different tactics and ways to establish a relationship based on mutual respect and trust rather than fear, which is a much easier way to, to establish some sort of, it's not a very healthy relationship, but it's an easy way to establish a relationship between a trainer and a trainee. It's much easier with dogs. You give them cheese. That's what I did with Colin. You just give him cheese and he does whatever you ask him to do.
We've got a clip that we can play showing you and your character in your role as a handler. Let me just try and bring that onto the screen so that everybody can see. So this is Nanette in the film as her character Alex in the film The Bond.
See you tomorrow, B65. Why couldn't you have been a dog?
That's such an interesting bit at the end when you're trying to kind of it shows a nice clip with you with your combat, and then you're kind of like, oh, why couldn't you have been a dog? It's the last line of that. It's quite an interesting kind of relationship that you kind of build up there and what have you. So that's really quite interesting. Tell me about Colin. Colin's. I always find that's quite an interesting name for a dog.
Yeah, he's unfortunately not my dog. I really wish he was, but Colin was he played my dog in the film, and I think he's actually Erica's mother's dog. Colin is gorgeous. He's beautiful Labrador, and we've got this saying where we say someone's a bit of a lava lamp, and I don't want to offend Colin because I love him, but he's a bit of a lava lamp. He's beautiful to look at, but not very bright. It took us ages to just get him to do dog things, like sit there like a dog and just sit there, and then he won't. He would just be off. We'd be looking everywhere but me, or you'd be smelling the cheese in my pocket, and it's just at random moments be sniffing my leg, and you just think, oh, Colin, work with me. But it was lovely working with him. He's very, very gorgeous. I just watched the film just for the dog, really.
Well, it was funny you should say that, because we do. I have been given some lovely little clips and what have you, and I think this is some kind of off-camera kind of type of clips and what have you. So let's just take a few minutes to just appreciate how gorgeous Colin is. Oh, so adorable. Absolutely adorable. It still, I'm sorry, it still makes me laugh, Colin. Every time we go and take the dog out for a walk, you'll be shouting across the field, going, Colin! Colin! Get out the bushes! And the reaction that people are saying always makes me laugh. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Um, Dan, your character, you were a combat, and you had a handler
What?
as well. Um, excuse me, but your handler was very different to Nanette's character, Alex. You know, they were quite abusive towards you in the role in the film. You know, how do you think that kind of affected the relationship that your character was then kind of forming with your handler?
Yeah. So my character Peter's combat and the relationship that he had with his handler Peter's, it was I was very envious of Alex's combat because shows a massive contrast between both parties there. Alex is very kind, caring, and supportive towards her combat, whereas mine was very, as you said, abusive, just not really caring about what happens to me. And that really made me feel more sympathetic towards Peter's combat, the character.
Okay.
He's he's not shown any love, and yet he tries his best in the film to try and please and support everyone.
Yeah, no, that's quite interesting. Because you know, I'm quite grateful that I have seen the film. I've been working on the post production, helping out with the music, trying to make sure that we put all the music in the right kind of place. I quite often have a kind of joke with Erica in that I still just see that the character Peters as opposed to the person, the actor that's actually playing them is like, oh, they're horrible, they're absolutely horrible, mean, so mean, and what have you. It's kind of like, I was like, yeah, but he's lovely in real life, and I'm like,
No, he's not.
yeah, but is he? Yeah, but seriously though, is he? And I'm sure, if you're watching, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're absolutely lovely. But it's so funny that the way that the characters, and it's that interesting kind of contrast that kind of comes across. Is where you've got two characters that are put in exactly, well, there's four characters that are put in exactly the same situation, but they handle it in such a very, very kind of different way, and it's interesting seeing how that kind of evolves throughout the film as you see these kind of like relationships across between how they're trying to do this professional relationship rather than trying to have anything kind of closer. We got some clips of yourself as well, Dan. So
yeah,
let's go and show those to everybody. Oh no, sorry. Before we do, just a very important question that I need to ask you.
Yeah.
As a combat in the film, how did you prepare for all the various different kind of fight training scenes? Because you were blindfolded whilst you were like running around the woods and doing all these kind of battle scenes, kind of all the training for all these kind of combat scenes. Blindfolded. I mean, what was how? Very confusing.
Yeah. So the fighting scenes, they were amazing and such fun. I mean, all the actors, they had such enthusiasm, and we had to do multiple takes of it because obviously we had to show it at the right angles and make it more believable. With the blindfolds, at first I was very nervous as to how this might all turn out. But once we found out that we can actually see through the blindfolds, it took a lot of pressure off.
That's really clever. That makes so much more sense. And in fact,
absolutely, yeah.
In the last video, Becca, who was the kind of producer all these kind of wonderful props and things throughout the film, she was explaining there as to how she had that kind of like, oh, I could make them kind of transparent. It was like, that just makes so much sense, because it was kind of, yeah, it's hard enough trying to walk around when it's bright daylight, let alone when you're covered kind of completely. So which brings me very nicely onto this clip that I've got of yourself.
Oh, God.
Again, there's sort of like a mixture of some of the kind of like behind the scenes kind of thing. So let's just bring that up for everybody to watch. And whilst you're watching, I mean, thank you so much for everybody that's tuning in to watch this. This is being broadcast live. Things are going to go wrong, especially if I'm in control of the situation. Everything's bound to go completely wrong. But what we need your help. We need your questions, your things that you want to ask us about the film, about the characters, or anything you just want to say, or any of it's just kind of like a shout out and what have you. Please, please, please engage in the comments. Let's make this a whole kind of interactive things. I can see them pretty much kind of live. You're watching everything about 15 or 20 seconds behind what's actually happening here in the studio from Colours and Fires HQ. So please do ask questions. So right. So that after that public service announcement, I'm now going to start playing the clip of Dan.
So Dan, just come up a little bit, just make it a bit safer. There we go, okay, go for it, Gemma. So her hand is not going to hit you because she can't reach you, okay? Okay.
I'd block. Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Okay, go.
Oh, your neck.
Action.
I think I should quit. I can't have them messing up my bread and butter, you know?
That's incredible. I'm in love because you're kind of like you're running through the little foresty area. You've got the drone running up, kind of flying, running. Drones run, no drones fly. Sophie,
I do. Yeah.
Flying above you on your head, and you're trying to coordinate all those kind of different things together. That's really quite quite impressive.
We all enjoy watching Dan getting beaten up. To be honest, you know.
That's the only reason people are going to watch this, aren't they?
Well, now that you've come to mention it, that's going to be something I should be looking forward to next time I watch it and kind of see it through.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's really cool. We do have some, so people are paying attention now. Some of these questions we've got some things that we are allowed to say and some things that we're not allowed to say, and I'm not sure where this particular one falls in. But I'll have a think about
Interesting.
I'll have a think about that question first. So we've got a question from Elmo. Hey Elmo, everyone wave to Elmo.
Hey Elmo.
What was it like making the film around doing your day-to-day life?
Oh,
A lot of commitment to stand around in the snow every weekend and most evenings of your life for a long time.
yeah, it was a bit chilly, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was
a
really
bit
cool.
chilly.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And we were outside most of the time, not always.
Because it was filmed. I mean, it was filmed a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
But it was in the winter time. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the plan, wasn't it? It was
February, March kind of
was it
time.
November through to February, I think it was, wasn't it originally?
Yeah.
And it was a bit
snow, a lot of wind.
Snow, wind, rain, hail. Yes.
tornadoes,
And a forest.
you name it.
Bears, penguins.
Bears
Awful.
and penguins. Wow, is penguins just the biscuits that you decided to bring for yourself, though? That's the thing.
Down to Erica.
Terry Brown says, I think this is to yourself, Dan. You got beaten up. You got beaten up
Hello.
by. It says, you've got beaten up by a girl. That's all it says. Karen Brown says, fantastic. Let me try and figure out. My mouse is running away. Come back, mouse. There we go. Erica,
Thank you very much.
Erica is asking, did you really hurt your neck in that scene? I think she's suddenly a bit worried now. She's seen it a bit closer. She's like, oh, did you really hurt yourself? I'm so sorry.
Well, no, just making it really believable. And
He's just a great actor.
The actor's craft, darling.
Oh, cool. Erica, thank you, Erica. I think she's reading the questions as well, and she's picked up on the one that I was hesitant in asking. How did the combats become zombies?
oh,
Right. I might be able to answer that.
yeah, go for it.
Give me a second, though. I got my list of non-spoilers.
I'll get your notes out. We've got
Things-
revision notes.
things
All
I
of us have
can't
been
say, yeah.
revising.
Hold on, let me see here. Right. So there is, it's almost like now, there is an unknown virus that people get and people don't know how to treat it. And therefore, it's a little bit like now. So I'm sorry if this upsets anyone. But it's virus, and the symptoms basically turn people into zombie-like creatures who can be trained, but they can't really think for themselves anymore without the spray that the army has developed and therefore use. So people just randomly got very ill, and everything's a bit in a lockdown. There are restrictions and things are being rationed. So it's very similar to now. Weird. It's very weird.
It's very strange, isn't it? I mean, we were having this conversation in the last kind of chat. Is there's some stark kind of comparisons with what we're all facing with today. Now, bearing in mind this was filmed like 2 years ago, so Erica would have written this about 2.5, kind of 3 years ago. I mean, we would never even heard of COVID-19. I think the term coronavirus has been around for some time, and there are various different kind of, I don't want to say flavours, but the different flavours of it. Strains, there we go, that's the word, the technical term there.
Flavours of coronavirus?
Flavours, yes, I will have
strawberry.
Terry Brown says COVID-22, no, that's a different flavour entirely, but COVID-19. But yeah, no, it's a kind of a stark kind of contrast, and I think we had a lot of kind of conversation around that about being on the front line, and then how that means in here today, and what have you, and the restrictions and things and what have you. So it's really interesting parallels, and I think there's a lot of kind of key messages, and I think it's just as important to still kind of like proceed with everything as planned, because we'd still be having this live chat today, whether we were in lockdown or not. We'd still be kind of like doing all the promo for the film. So it's just really interesting how there is that kind of stark parallels against everything, and how we all just kind of how do you feel around that, as to kind of like the contrast of the things that we're allowed to say about the film to kind of what's happening at the moment?
I mean, the only thing that is quite scary is the people in the film. The other thing that's in the back of their mind is this: they're worried about an invasion from another country, because it doesn't. I don't quite know how far this virus spread in the film, but it's brought the country to its knees, and it's
Yeah.
It's a very great opportunity then to invade a country and start a war. So let's hope that doesn't go there.
Yeah, no, I hope
Really, really
I
hope
hope
it
so as well. Let me see. Let's see if we've got some other questions on here.
cheerful.
Zoe, who's a filmographer. That's the kind of a fancy.
Hi, Zoe.
That's a really fancy word. I do love that word. So I don't have a question really, but as I was there doing it every day, but I just wanted to say that you guys and the other actors really made the whole experience wonderful. You have no idea how thankful Erica and I are for making this what it is, and then lots of love hearts. Oh, that's really sweet. So is there anything you want to say back to Zoe and Erica?
Well, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to bring this whole project to life. Thank you.
Thank you for the biscuits, although they're limited variety.
No, thank you for an experience that probably I would never have otherwise had the chance to be in.
Yeah, it was very, very good, wasn't it? Yes, I mean, we're actually filming on an actual film location as well. I don't know if many people noticed that, but it was a secret location which has been in various other films and TV serials. It's on BBC. I can't remember the name of the series that was on BBC a few months back, but I recognised the small garden shed, or greenhouse rather, in the background. I thought, I was there. I was filming there. That's a real serious filming location.
And that was the piece outside where we had where we saw Dan and the other combats running, and we had the drones flying above. So that was those. So you pick some prime BBC locations. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I'll be looking out for the green sheds in the background on everywhere, on all the things that I watch, to make sure it's on there.
If you're lucky, you might just find the toilet tent as well. That was one of the highlights of filming.
That was one of your most favourite experiences, from what I understand.
Yeah,
well, it wasn't mine.
It really made me understand who I was, and that I am not suited for a life in the bush.
It took us about
me and Dan were okay in the bush.
Set that up.
Yeah, you set it up. I had to try and use it.
I know, it was funny. Watching it from the outside was hilarious.
I'm glad. I'm really.
His elbows. The tent was. I have to explain. The tent was only about 2.5 feet tall, and it was. You could see elbows and legs going everywhere. It's very funny. One time it blew away with Nanette in it.
No, I was much lighter then.
Oh, that was. Yeah.
Oh, cheers, Paul.
Yeah, you're welcome.
There are no words. Oh dear.
So I've got too many screens, trying to do too many things. Wonderful. Please do keep those. So I'm just laughing at something that Elmo put. I'm not sure I can read that. I'm not sure I can read that out. You'll have to read that.
Elbow.
You'll have to read that. You'll have to read that yourselves later, and everyone else can giggle on that one. So, Paul, you're
past the watershed,
Well, this is true.
Sorry.
Paul, your character, the Major, is actually quite stern character, and there were several rules that had to be adhered to for the handlers. They had to kind of abide by these rules. Tell us a little bit about these rules.
Well, it's this is where we see the Major in his professional format as a professional soldier, where he is basically following his own orders, that the combats are not people because they are dead. They are things to be used. They're a weapon. And just as you wouldn't expect a soldier to have I hate to say close and intimate relationship with his tool or his weapon, it's the same thing Sorry, Dan, stop laughing. He expects his handlers to be professional in their approach to what is essentially an object. So therefore, he stresses the point that the handlers cannot have a close relationship with the zombies, basically, even though they are capable of interacting, of talking, of having emotional responses. Nevertheless, from the army perspective, they are a thing to be used. And therefore, he's quite stern on that point, and he emphasized that to Alex many times.
I think it's something that kind of was emphasised across to everybody from what I've saw, as opposed to singling out any individual character. It was always trying to convey that as, you know, how to be a good, you know, this was the recipe to be a good handler, that you had to abide by those rules. But I think it was just very, very suspicious of everybody not really following those rules. And, you know, this whole point that you were saying about a combat as a resource, you know, rather than, you know, you could see, from your character's perspective, you could see that this was a person that had been overtaken by this, you know, very sad kind of situation that had happened within the context of the film. But then we're trying to forget everything about, no, you're just a thing, you're not a person. I mean, that must have been very difficult to kind of battle with that, and then try and kind of encourage the handlers to be good handlers.
Yes, it's he says at one stage to Alex, he reminds her it's an it, not a she, for example. But I think he's also combating his own feelings on the situation himself. He has his own internal discipline to deal with, and he's dealing with a disparate group of people from different backgrounds. So Alex, of course, is a dog handler in her previous life. And then we don't really know as much about the details of, for example, Peter's background and so forth. We assume he's some kind of combat expert in some approach. And he's trying to weld them into a singular unit with something novel, something new. There's a new threat that is from outside, but a new, and also internally from the zombies themselves, as whether they are potentially a danger, or can they be utilized in a way that is effective for the army and what they need to do. And I think it's the Major is conflicted, but he tries to struggle to keep the lid on it because of his own personal discipline, and then convey that to his team.
I think that's the interesting thing. We've got three kind of like very different kind of characters, all in the same kind of situation. You know, you've got the Major is trying to kind of just control and turn this kind of rabble, is that kind of the right kind of words, rabble of people and things, into a kind of highly tuned, effective and efficient kind of weapon for the army. And then you've got the contrast of that of, you know, Daniel character as part of the weapon, and then Nanette, your character, as part of almost like the guiding system to make sure. And then, you know, the Major's sometimes a bit of the conductor and all those kind of things. So there's so much kind of like going on in terms of the conflicts of the personal characters trying to even just figure out, oh my goodness, this situation that we're in, as well as trying to kind of achieve that goal, achieve that, you know, of being a good combat. Because if you weren't a good combat, you could be kind of thrown off the program, and then, you know, you're in a difficult situation. Or if you can't be a good handler, then again you could get thrown off the program. And then as a Major, you've got to have a good squadron, otherwise everything could be taken away. So you've also got that kind of tension going through the whole thing as well as the rest of the kind of story as it's developing.
Yeah, there's a nice parallel to be drawn between what happens with currently in warfare, where you have drone pilots, for example, where drone pilots might be situated thousands of miles away from the area of conflict. So, for example, in Afghanistan, you have the drone pilots actually based in the UK, and they are flying a remote system thousands of miles away to take out and kill somebody in Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, or whatever. Here is much more up close and personal, quite literally, because as you'll see from the footage, the actual fighting takes place at very close quarters. Now, if you imagine the emotional impact that must have on the handlers seeing that directly. Now, if you imagine that extrapolating it backwards towards current combat situations where people are flying these drones into war zones and killing people they can't see and still have the effects of that, imagine then the effect of that on someone who can actually observe it themselves or more directly. That's quite a thing. So we have, in our film, we have, of course, Nanette. I'm kind of the overall drone commander, I suppose, if you like. Nanette is the handler, and Dan is indeed the tool.
Yeah.
That was a very long-winded way of you calling Dan a tool. Oh my goodness!
No, it wasn't. I had to get a gag in there somewhere.
Yeah, I know. Oh my goodness! You had us all. We were so kind of like, really, really, really. It's like, oh my goodness! Wow, brilliantly done, brilliantly done. But no, I mean, kind of joking aside, you're absolutely right, and what have you. Let's go back to our comments. Come on, more questions, people. That will take about 20 seconds for that to get through. It's kind of
Sophie.
Yeah.
Sophie, can I give a shout out to 2 people that said hello to me?
Yes, of course. Please do. The stage
Hi
is yours.
to Pam in Cardiff, and then hi to Laura Rose, who was also in the film. She played one of the smaller characters, but she was also in the film. So it's nice to hear from you. I hope you're well.
Hey, everybody else wave. Come on, Paul.
Hello.
Come on down. There we go. Cool. Oh, it's lovely. Thank you.
Well.
Thank you very much for joining from Cardiff, and that's really cool. So, see if we've got my mouse has disappeared. There we go. I'm trying to be too clever with too many things. Francois Nord has asked for Nanette, if you could tell us a bit about the character. I know that you spoke a little bit about at the beginning of the film, but for their benefit, if you could just give us a quick little bit of a recap of your character for Francois.
Hello, Uncle Francois. It's my uncle.
Hey,
lovely. Uncle Francois.
Yeah. And hi to my aunt as well, if she's there. So Alex is she's a lady in the army, used to be a dog trainer, and is now part of the squad, where she's kind of the outsider a little bit. Comes from a privileged background if you compare her to some of the other people around, but she's very down to earth, doesn't let her emotions control her at all, but a very kind-hearted person, and just gets stuff done. She just, she goes in, she sorts things out, she does what she needs to do, and this is why this is so hard for her, dealing with something that goes against her grain. It's not respectful to treat someone else like a dog when they're not. Yeah, that's basically it, and she goes along doing her thing, really.
Fantastic, nice. Thank you. So I'm going to go back to Paul from my tiny little script of questions,
okay.
Which so. In fact, we're going to go and watch a clip, because I've just remembered that the question that I had down to ask you, I asked you in our rehearsals of the video, because apparently I don't Erica told me to ask you about this amazing track, and then when we did this in rehearsal, kind of Paul was like, yeah, it wasn't my track. don't know whose it was. It was pretty cool though. So
There was a truck, yeah. It wasn't mine per se, but it was an amazing truck. Yeah.
It was the major truck, though.
It was the majors. It was them in the film. Maybe. Good point. It must have been the majors truck, and I, just being as silly as I am, completely misunderstood that. So we've got a clip. We've got a series of clips now. These kind of behind the scenes kind of look from Paul, your character, taking that role of the major very, very seriously, even when you're out of character. So let's kind of everybody else can see that. So just bear with me, and I will start playing that now.
Combats.
This is handlers.
Oh no! Boing. Prepare for exercise. Bugger, sorry.
Laser am I?
Get a biscuit. Oh no, combat here.
It is just dead.
Wink. Yeah.
That finished a lot quicker than I was expecting.
There you go. And that, kids, is why you should learn your lines.
Exactly. We're messing about off camera, doing silly faces to each other. I wasn't really paying attention. Told you,
we were engaged in all the outtakes.
No, I know. We should be videoing what's actually going on, like in the Zoom room, behind the scenes when we're in the green room mode. But you know, I think that was really good. I just love the way that all those kind of different things kind of come together.
Laura Rose was in that clip.
Oh, is she?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, cool.
Was she one of the handlers?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, yes, right. Yes, she was. Yes.
Oh, yes. Nice.
Let's see if there are any questions. Please, more questions. Zoe was saying, good question, Karen. So that was obviously the one that we were doing before. Terry Brown, obviously Terry Brown's a big fan.
Hi, Terry.
Can you tell us what it was like playing a tool?
That is your fault, Paul, and you know it. And thank you, Terry, for that question. I suppose playing the tool, as you kindly put it, they were obviously brought into the military through unfortunate circumstances. So, you know, they've contracted this virus, they've become an undead zombie, and so they're pretty much being forced to obey everything the military is telling them to do. All of the handlers are now in control of them, and so I suppose over time they're sort of feeling very down and very submissive even, because they don't have any free will now, do they? They just have to march along, follow orders. Even when Peter's combat gets abused and not treated very nicely by Peter's, he's still very submissive. But also in that sense, I would say being beaten down like that so much, it will make you more sympathetic towards the other combats as well. So in the film,
because that's so you bring up an interesting point there, because you know when we've mentioned before about the spray, which kind of like almost kind of like humanizes them again, but they're still kind of like very aware, although they may not be able to recall precisely everything that happened when the spray had run out and they kind of re-entered back into that kind of zombie state. Yeah. But then when they had the spray, they were incredibly aware of themselves and the situation that they're in, and as you say, that just makes them even more kind of submissive. And the fact with your character being treated so badly by your handler was kind of like, well, there's no point even giving up, because not even that's kind of worth it, because that's just even worse than what this is. So just gonna have to carry on and just kind of plod on.
I do feel sad for Peter's combat. He goes through so much, and yet he cares the most. I mean, even for other handlers and combats.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing that kind of comes through. I mean, one of the things that I've said this before to Erica, and it's one of the things that I think people are going to really enjoy about the film when they come to watch it, is that you really warm to all of the characters, and in many ways you kind of forget that you're watching a kind of film and what have you, because you just get so engrossed into the whole thing, and you take all these characters to heart, and you, in many ways, I think that you go along the journey with them as well. So when you see that your character being so mistreated, you kind of feel bad yourself, for your character and what have you, and the same with all the other characters. A question that was asked earlier. Sorry, Nikki Pallet has asked a question. Hello. And I do apologise for missing the question. But I actually did feel that it was more appropriate asking it a little bit later once we had a bit more of the conversation. So general question to any of you. What was your highlight of filming?
Ooh. Well, I mean, there was. We've already mentioned the toilet tent. People using the toilet tent. That was quite fun. The biscuits, of course. The freezing cold. The Zoe with her bum hanging out of the truck as she was filming. That was good.
But you were supposed to be driving. How did you see that?
I had a driver. Thank you very much.
Oh, cool.
I'm a major.
Right.
Yeah, I was directing things. Yeah. So literally hanging out the truck with the gimbaled iPhone she was using to film with, and every bounce and things like, go on, Zoe, bounce out, and she didn't fall out, but it's close.
Okay. She didn't fall out of the back of the van, everybody. Yeah. That's what was being referred to. Scrub that from your mind.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
I enjoyed Erica's directing style, where she would just be hiding in the bed and giving you directions from under the bed, but all of her entire lower body would be sticking out the other side of the bed, and you just. Yeah, it was very interesting.
Oh, that's fantastic. There's a really good clip. If those of you that are interested in seeing, if you haven't seen it before, please do go back and check onto the Bond Facebook page. I mean, obviously, like the Facebook page, and all the rest of the social media channels and things that they've got in there. But there's the previous chat that we had. It was a couple of weeks ago now with Zoe and with Erica and with Becca, and there are other clips that we were showing then, and one of them has got the bit that you're referring to, Nanette, where Erica is just squeezed under it with the narrowest of beds by the looks of it. It didn't look like it was particularly tall, but what I thought was so funny watching that clip is that not only was she under the bed. Not only was she directing, and she was so close to the ground because there was just so little space, but she had a cup of tea. Goodness knows how on earth she was actually going to be able to drink that cup of tea, because there physically wasn't any room to lift it up and actually kind of start drinking it. But I just thought it was so funny. So if you want to watch some of the other clips, I mean, please, after this video is finished, don't just stop now, but please do check out the rest of the Bond page. Keep an eye out on all the other videos. There's lots of different things. Zoe's just said we trimmed the legs off of the bed. So I think they actually tried to make the bed even lower than it actually was. So it just shows you how much little space there was underneath. Erica was saying, in terms of, I think this is referring to the telephone and the gimbal grip, and they're hanging on to the end of the big truck. It could be read in so many different ways, but please take this into the context of trying not to fall off the back of the van. Zoe has the grip of 1,000 monkeys, apparently.
Yeah, very small monkeys. Good time to do that.
Size doesn't matter, Paul. You should know.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yes. Well, if you as a big fan of Toy Story, the monkeys in Toy Story, they're very small, but they're very, very strong. Very strong.
Very good.
Oh, and Zoe's also saying that Zoe hanging out the back of the van as it's just driving, that's the word, driving through the field, is also, you can see a little bit of a clip of that in the other chat that we went through. So what was it like, working on this production, through the filming and all the kind of other work that was kind of going on, in comparison to kind of like other stage work that you've kind of done previously?
There's a lot of rehearsal in stage.
Yeah, it's. I think it's. I wasn't expecting to, as you saw from my bloopers there, I didn't quite do all the rehearsal I should have done with some of the lines. So that's something that I should really have paid a little bit more attention to, I think. But the beauty of film is you can just like clip out, edit out the swearing and things. You can't do that on stage exactly. It was, I think, with filming
on stage it's a very different thing, isn't it? Because everything is kind of happening there. I mean, Nanette, you're saying there's a lot of kind of in kind of proper productions, there's like lots and lots of rehearsals that you have to do. But obviously this was all kind of like volunteer, and everyone's kind of short of time, so you were just trying to kind of do it on the fly. So it's kind of must have been a kind of a bit of a blend of that. Right, okay, although we don't have like a big massive film crew, we've only got so much like space on the device that was recording the film. So that must have been kind of a different kind of feeling to recording those, filming those scenes as opposed to kind of like some other kind of professional kind of stage and film work that you may have done previously.
Yeah, it's. I think with stage work, of course, it's all live, and you can't go back if you make a mistake. You just got to plow onwards. With filming, of course, you have to. There's a lot of waiting around if you're an actor, because everyone else is busy setting up the shot and so forth, or re-rigging to reshoot and so on. I know both Dan and I have been on set on films. I was in The Crown very briefly as, I think, third pair of clapping hands on the left in Crown Series 2.
Cool.
A similar thing is it's just the waiting around that is one aspect of being on set, I think. That's very, very different from stage acting. I think with stage acting as well, you live on your nerves a bit, because you need that to power the performance. With film acting, it's a bit more relaxed. You have time to get into the character, but then in between takes, you can step out a bit, as it were.
Yeah. And not only forgetting to do the same scenes over and over and over again from different angles. I suppose that's another difference between film work and stage work. Yeah. Yeah, but it's really great fun, but also it's limited time as well. If you want to film something during the day, then you need to make sure that everyone's on set and everything is filmed before it gets dark. for instance.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of
Continuity is a
tension there as well.
And I think from
continuity. Yeah.
when we were talking before, when we were kind of having a bit of a practice, you made some good points about how it's very much more kind of regimented on a film set, on a kind of like well paid kind of source kind of thing. It's very much right. Everyone's working to such a tight schedule to get all the different bits and right that's done. Let's crack on and let's run. So there's that kind of thing as well. I don't have any experience of that because I've not been involved in any drama. Although I tried to make my life a drama, but I've not been involved in any of those kind of things. So how does that kind of contrast with? I mean, Nanette, you were mentioning before about Erica's kind of directing style. How does that kind of contrast with anything that you may have seen before? Because I would imagine it's just very focused, but I would imagine it can be quite hilarious in a politest possible way. It's kind of like, well, just make up your mind what do you want, but she's still really, really focused. How tell us a bit about that.
Go on, guys. I've not been on a professional film set, so this is you.
Okay. I suppose the difference between a professional set and a indie film set is on the professional set, everyone's as you said, Sophie, very time organized. Everyone is just darting here and there, doing things on multiple takes at different angles. But in an indie film, it's more. There's not as much pressure in that sense. You can actually have a laugh with everyone. Paul, you did that with all of your bloopers, which was very, very entertaining. Yeah,
I try my best.
Oh, excellent! Yeah,
I think with the film, of course, it's astonishing when you're on a film set to see how many people it takes to recreate a simulacrum of reality. It really is. It takes a lot of people to make something fake look real, as it were. With our production here on the Bond, you had basically one cameraman, the inestimable Zoe, who was brilliant,
filmographer,
running around.
Filmographer.
She did
Filmographer,
really, really well.
filmographer, cinematographer. Yes, okay. iPhoneographer.
Yes. We could.
Other products are also available.
Exactly.
But I mean, she was, on the unrelenting gaze of Erica, the unrelenting whip of Erica, possibly cracking along as a director and doing all the work by herself in that respect, and then taking all the single angles on a film set. Obviously, you have multiple cameramen, so the amount of work that everyone on set did to make this film come to life was quite significant, really. So kudos to everybody who worked on it.
Everyone did such a fantastic job. Everyone
the level
gave up their time for it, and we've got a fantastic film now.
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, the level of professionalism from everybody, the quality of acting from everybody that's involved in the film, from the biggest kind of roles down to the smallest kind of roles. Maybe okay. Yeah, Paul, you were okay. It was too bad.
It was all right.
It was all right. No, but everybody, and across all the different scenes, and I know that was, there was like so many different people that were kind of helping out. But everyone that's kind of watching this is looking forward to watching the film. You are in for a treat. It is an absolute cracking film. It is, it's certainly. One of my favourite films, so kind of thrilled and kind of privileged to be involved in it, even in the small part of the way that I am, kind of helping out with some of the music. We've got a couple of other questions.
Oh, cool.
So Zoe's was saying that there was a really good question that apparently was asked before, so I apologise if I missed the question. I've got multiple screens and cameras and things that I'm trying to look into. And if Paul can remember, hang on, it's just skipped. Why do this? No, this I didn't even think of asking this question. So whoever it was that asked, thank you so much, and thank you Zoe for prompting me to ask that in the chat. Why do the combats wear blindfolds?
Yes.
Well, you know, everyone has their own personal preferences in life.
Careful.
You know,
Careful.
It's a lifestyle choice.
Careful.
They wanted a challenge.
I think it's a bit of a puzzle, really.
No, it's
I
not
think it's
a
also
puzzle.
because a crucial scene in combat training is because you might not actually be able to see your combat while you're fighting, and also combats themselves might need to fight in conditions that are not with, for example, maximum visibility, i.e. night. So it's about training the combats to be able to fight in low visibility conditions and also trust their own bodies as well, but listening to commands from their handlers. I think the handlers and the combats should have both been blindfolded.
Yes.
So when the zombies are in their zombie state, they just do things that they used to do. So they repeat patterns from their previous, from their alive existence. So when the zombies are sprayed, they dosed by the thing that the military, the spray that the military has designed, they go back, they become human again. So then they have to be then trained to store that sort of in their subconscious, so that when they're not dosed anymore and they're a zombie, that's like their second nature. That's the thing they go back to.
Okay.
So I think blindfolding them is part of the making them not that human anymore, so that, as Paul said, they can't rely on their vision and make their own decisions. They, it's another thing of subduing them to their trainers basically as well.
And that's the thing. I mean, go ahead, Dan. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, sorry. I suppose it's also a lot more intense training on the handler's perspective as well, to give the correct and accurate commands at the right time during the mission or the combat.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking, because when you see the training scenes, like the stuff that we were watching from the clips before, is that there are the earpieces. In pictures, like I've got like earpieces in now, so I can hear you, and it doesn't sound like I've got big headphones on.
Just remember the problems we had with the earpieces on set.
They were very good, and apparently they were very good, and they didn't electrocute anybody. So there was.
No, it didn't electrocute anybody. It kept on going boing. Bits of them kept on falling off.
Thank God.
But I think, is there an element from what I took out of it as well, which is another reason why I thought it was such a fantastic question. It was another way, and we were talking about the building up the relationship between the handler and the combats, and then and we've done that triangle kind of like combat, handler, major, but it was a way also it came across, and of a way of kind of having absolute trust. When you're blindfolded, all your other sensories, like you were saying, Nanette, all your kind of memories, your kind of default says, that's kind of like been taken away from you. And then Dan, as you're saying about the handler being very precise about how, like 25 paces, 90 degrees left, 25 degrees right, all those kind of things, and making sure that you're kind of like really in tune with each other, so that you can your combat can completely trust the handler in that they're not going to say run off a cliff. That would be hilarious. But then also knowing that the handler has to be very precise and clear, because they know that the combat can't even see them, so that when you're in, as you were saying, Paul, when you're in that kind of like nighttime kind of combat situation, and whilst they may be vaguely visible, there won't you won't have that direct kind of eye to eye, kind of line to line kind of contact. So
right,
building that kind of just kind of like that organic trust, just blind. In fact, it's blind belief because you're blindfolded, so it's having that kind of blind belief. So brilliant question. Thank you, Zoe, for reminding us about that question.
Yeah.
So we got hey Matty James. We've got another question from Karen Brown. Dan said that he felt empathy for the other combats and handlers, so the zombies have emotions, yet the army still exploited them. Do they feel pain?
In the zombie-like state, they don't feel pain. However, once they've been given the spray, which gives them back their humanity temporarily, all of that pain that they experienced before, it suddenly hits them in one wave. So, like, if a zombie is sent on a mission and they broke their arm, for instance, later on they'll be getting the spray, and it will just be intense pain that they'll suddenly feel. So, yes and no to that question.
Yeah, no, again, a fantastic question. Thank you for asking that. Sorry, you were going to say...
isn't it true, Dan, that you also felt intense pain because someone smacked you in the head for real?
Oh, yeah. Probably hit so hard.
A stunt went wrong. Yeah.
Well, Nanette, you've got a lovely little story about one of your filming scenes that the distancing, what we now call, we weren't aware of this phrase even a couple of years ago when you were filming. Social distancing wasn't even a thing, but there was a bit of an issue that happened. Tell us a little bit about that.
There's a scene where Peters, who's an absolute... Oh, can I swear? No.
Yeah, of course you can.
He's just not a very nice person. Let's say that. He's not a very nice person.
The character, not the person.
The character is not a very nice character. And I have to punch him. And we had everything worked out and the angles, and we took the shot from one angle and it was fine, and then we took it from another angle and I punched him in the face, really punched him in the face, because I don't know, I must have moved, or maybe he moved.
You actually made contact.
It made contact, yeah. I punched him in the face. Erica said, "Oh wow, that's brilliant." And then I went, "Oh, I really did. I punched you in the face." Yeah, it looked really good though, because it was
Oh, brilliant.
We have to suffer for our art.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So, Thiele Nanette, Thiele has, please shout out Nanette from her biggest, your biggest fan, is Nanette.
Hi, Thiele. Dank je kijken. Ik lief voor jou. Succes.
This is another good question from Thiele. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you're all safe over your part of the world and everyone's well. Are all of the characters locally based?
Ah.
Ooh.
Well, that was actually quite exciting about this film, wasn't it? Most people were from kind of Berkshire area anyway. From all parts of the community. That was really good, actually. I don't know about you guys. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's, is it about the characters or the actors? Sorry.
From the actors, from everybody. So for actors, let's kind of broaden it out to pretty much everybody that was involved in production of the film, whether they're producers, whether they're actors, whether they're crew, and volunteers, and even as far as kind of like the soundtrack and what have you.
Yeah. Yes, it was all very locally sourced, wasn't it? It was Erica used the community centre in Bracknell as well, and the kids there from the club as kind of extras as well. So who appeared in the dining room scene, I think it is.
Yes, yeah.
I think some of them were used. They were used quite extensively throughout
Yeah.
the film. There was different things. We had a bit of a focus on them in the last video chat that we did. So yeah, I think that's one of the really lovely things about this film is that not only is everybody kind of like volunteering their time, and we hope this is going to be a really successful kind of production. And I'm sure, as I've said before, that everyone's going to really enjoy it. But everybody is from within the local community, within kind of like a stone's throw away within Berkshire. Although I can't throw stones all the way to Bracknell from Reading. But even
sometimes it didn't really matter where we were based locally or not, because on some scenes, like we did in that. In the woods that you mentioned, Paul, that was mentioned on what was it, CBBS or something, or
BBC?
Yeah.
Possibly CBBS. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's where the In the Night Garden was filmed as well. I don't know. That was down in Farnham. So that's in Surrey. Yeah, sorry.
It's still fairly close.
Yeah,
I mean that's a great thing. I mean, I remember asking that question to Erica and Zoe and Rebecca in the last chat. I mean, that was one of the things that they really wanted to kind of make sure that it was everybody within the kind of like relative kind of like local distance. Even with the soundtrack that's kind of like going on top of everything. My band, Colours and Fires, put some music towards that. And there are other local bands that are putting their own songs. So it's there's lots. Every aspect about it is all about the kind of like local people, which is absolutely fantastic. And that's why I was so happy to kind of say to Erica that please do use some of my songs that are out and released and stuff, but you can use it, and don't worry about royalties. We can figure all that out, and being there to kind of help put some of the other kind of build tension to some of the scenes and what have you. I don't think you've seen it with the with the soundtrack overlaid on top, and that's kind of stuff that we're working on at the moment. It's part of the post production, and that's kind of like, I guess that's why I've got quite a bit of a deeper insight into the film, because I've had to watch it so closely and have had to look at the emotions so closely, so that we can make sure that we've got the right emphasis on the music as we're going through, whether it's something that I've written or whether it's something that another incredibly talented artist has written and we are kind of showcasing in the film. So yes, there's a lot of locally based characters. Let's go through and see if there's any more. These are great questions. Thank you so much.
Keep them coming.
Kind of staying with us. We've got quite a few people kind of watching, which is really exciting. We've got some great questions. Thank you all. I mean, let's.
Hi, Mum.
And we're gonna have to have a big after party afterwards. You do realise this? We're gonna carry on. We'll open it up. We'll have a big Zoom after party. People are
Zoom after party. Ooh.
That would be really cool. Get everyone to message afterwards, and that'd be really kind of cool. Let me see if there's anything else kind of going. Erica's after royalties. What are you after royalties for? You have to explain afterwards.
Are you royalties? I was going to ask that. I mean, you're getting royalties. I'm getting biscuits.
But you always say that. But you've never. I've got no deliveries of biscuits. Nanette, did you get anything from Paul that was sent? No.
Nope.
Dan? No.
I've just got a big stash down in the cellar.
I see.
Garibaldi's.
So whilst everybody else was stockpiling toilet roll, you were stealing all the biscuits.
Well, the aisle was empty. It's just like whoosh, straight down, boom, 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 bish, bash, bosh. I've got nettles and dock leaves and things around here, if necessary.
Okay, fine.
Sure.
There we go. Moving swiftly on.
This is what I find is a good idea.
Oh, so one of the couple of things I want to ask. What advice would you give somebody who wanted to get involved in like an independent like film just like this? What you know, based off of your experience and your involvement in this, what kind of advice would you give somebody who was like, I'd really like to do something like that?
I would say do it. Be
Go for it. Yeah.
be prepared to work hard. Like bring it all. Make sure you're prepared, because generally, you know, if people are just volunteering, it's in their spare time. It's so you don't want to waste other people's time. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you're on time. Just bring the love and the creativity, because it is hard work, and it's normally that it's someone's little labor of love project. So you know, if you're involved, be completely committed. That's what I'd say. But do it, because it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. If you do it, you'll meet people that you'll come to absolutely love. You'll make tons of friends along the way. And you'll have so much fun. And before you know it, the time will just fly by. And you'll find that you're finished and you will want to do it again. So it's great fun.
Do it. And if it's your project, your idea, then do it anyway. You know, don't wait for someone else to hang around with say, oh, just give you permission. Do it. Simple as that. You got the idea. I think with Erica, she had the script idea, and I think I can't remember if it was Zoe who said to her that I know they mentioned it in the interview a couple of weeks ago. Said like, you've really got to film this, and I think it was Zoe who nagged her to do it. And there's a thing though. If you've got a script, you've got a dream, then go ahead and find a way to do it. If there's a way of doing it and you really believe in it, it will happen.
Especially now. Oh, sorry, Paul.
Yeah. No. Go ahead. Yeah, especially now.
I was just going to say, you know, if you think a few years back even, you would have had to have proper camera equipment, proper microphones. Like Zoe filmed this on an iPhone, I think. Yeah, you know, all of this on an iPhone. So you know, you could make a film with a phone nowadays. So it's not just you don't need that massive startup, you know, cost. So you've got a very little excuse now if you've got an idea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's I think it's the doing rather than the overthinking of it. Perfection is the enemy of doing things. So don't worry about the end result in a way. It's the fact it's got done, and mistakes are going to happen along the way anyway. In my real life, as it were, I'm a teacher and lecturer, and I teach in foreign languages. I always say in English is a foreign language rather, and I always say to my students, like, you're going to make mistakes anyway, so don't worry about them. And I think that's the same for, you know, in life, is you're going to make mistakes as part of life. And with filming or acting, whatever, you're going to make errors, you're going to do that. But if you learn from it, it's not an error, it's not a mistake, it's a lesson. And I think we all learn things through this whole process. I certainly did from it. And I'm really happy to have been part of the experience of doing this.
I think these are really good things. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. Apparently, Erica, I haven't asked Dan the question that I should have done. I can't find the question, so please message back either on our own little local chat or on the main chat, because I can't see the question. I'm trying to navigate through too many things, and this time I've actually put my refresh wine closer to me so that I can keep topping up. So that's really cool.
Good idea.
So I will ask Dan that question. So Dan's now going, oh my goodness, I don't know. But that's a really good, and there was some really, really good points that you made in there, and I think that's like there was the you know, one of the other ways as well, I think, from because I'm being prompted on the main chat. Thank you. And I've lost it again. But you can join sort of like local kind of like theatre groups as well. who are always putting things on. So the theatre group that you were referring to, Paul, was the Look Beyond Theatre, who were fantastic in supporting the production. We had a really good clips of them last time, is that how they were helping create the sound effects with fruit, but then how that was kind of like overlaid, so that was quite fun to watch. And then as you go through and see in the film, you can see them popping up in various different places across the film.
Yeah.
And the dedication and the commitment that they put on, you know, to have somebody, a film director, you know, like Erica or anybody else, just knock on, like, just like open the door, like, hi, would you like to be involved in the film? And everyone going, oh my God, yes, you've come to the right place. But, you know, having all those kind of things, so that's, you know, I think also kind of trying to kind of get involved in those things. Don't be scared, don't be afraid to do that. Let me see if I can catch up on these. That is a good question. Oh, I like that question. Apparently it wasn't iPhone, so the lawyers have been on the on us and say it was Andronian. It wasn't an iPhone. It was Andronian. It was a Samsung. So other devices are available. This is when Erica panics. It's like, oh right, okay. So there's a question from Zoe. Are you volunteering then, Dan, for film number 2? It's like, there's a part 2. Oh,
there's a part 2.
I know. Oh my goodness. Even Erica's. I would imagine Erica's going, what? Oh my goodness! No,
only if I could do the trailer for that. I mean,
let's do part 1 first. Oh my goodness, that was great. That's great.
Wow.
Right, are you ready for this question?
Okay.
This is a generic question. It doesn't have to be, obviously, like Dan, you're probably the default person. I'm going to ask you just to hold back a little bit on the question, on your answer, because it's too easy to ask you. So let's ask in reverse order, and you're not allowed to use the same answer. You can't go, oh yes, that was very good. That was exactly what I was going to say. I could, yes, I would. I second that.
Okay.
Peter's Combat doesn't have a name. I know we spoke about this kind of briefly earlier, that everybody, you know, there are things that don't have names, but there are some of the combats were referred to by name, and but from a military perspective, they were referred to by number. There was no names. So I'm going to ask this question number 1 to contestant number 1, Paul. Peter's Combat doesn't have a name.
Mm-hmm.
What name would you give Peter's Combat? And you can't say Dan either, because that's just cheating.
No, I'm not going to say Dan. That'd be, Giles.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
You're just looking like a Giles, that's all.
Okay. Interesting. It's a very valid answer. Nanette.
Leonard.
I don't know, Dan, if this is a deep personal insight into the character of which is Peter's Combat, or whether this is a deep personal insight into their window into your soul.
Yeah. It's the fact that he looks a bit like a knackered vicar, you know, Giles and Leonard are vicars' names, you know.
Oh my goodness!
It's just everyone ganging up on Peter's Combat, isn't it?
What's wrong with the name Leonard?
Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy was a very, very well respected individual. So, and also I was going to say, what do the people on the chat think? We haven't seen the films. You won't know.
Be gentle, please.
Please. Dan, what do you think your character should be called, as opposed to Peter's combat? It wasn't as in the combat of Peter. It was Peter's was the individual's last name, as in the plural Peter's.
Yeah.
So, what would your combat name be?
Probably Elvis.
You
Because
choose
Elvis-
Elvis over Lennon?
I often wondered what happened to Raining Elvis. Now I know. I can see actually looking at your hairstyle. I can see the kind of connection as well there, Dan. So that's
Oh yeah. Oh, thank you very much.
exactly.
Yeah.
The combats have left the building.
And got shot on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the title of my next song? Sorry, I can't remember. I got shot on the battlefield.
Didn't know my own name.
I was totally blinded. Thought I was misguided. I should write this down. Apparently there isn't a part 2. Oh no! Dun, dun,
You raised my hope.
Let's just end the stream there. Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
EastEnders style finish. There's no part 2. Oh my goodness. But there are some new concepts in the pipeline, so that's interesting and exciting. That's really cool. Sorry, we're not twisting your words. I'm sorry if we have, but there we go. That's cool. Karen Brown's like, it doesn't look like a Giles or a Leonard. Well, no, maybe Dan doesn't. I would probably hazard a guess that Dan looks more like a Dan. I don't know.
Funny that. Yeah. Yes.
Call me crazy, but in terms of the character and what have you.
My mum gave me the name, so it's got to be nice.
Parents are really good like that. Although, strangely, my parents got my name wrong. Go figure. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
So
Thanks, Mum.
it's got. I've literally got. Oh, okay, no, I didn't accidentally miss your question, Thiele. I missed it. I didn't accidentally miss it. I genuinely missed your question. So I apologise, Thiele. Thiele has a question. How long did it take you to shoot the film?
Millions of years, wasn't it? It is.
Must have been nearly a year though.
Yeah.
It was November. We started November 2017, didn't we?
Oh, wow.
And then the last shots were done up to about a year, almost a year later.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's a very long process.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because it's arranging the times for everybody when we were available, but also getting for some of it, the continuity. So the outdoor scenes, obviously, we had to try and get the light approximately the same for some of the reshoots. Since we filmed in November, we then had to go back at the right kind of time in March or something like that. So the light looked more or less the same. So that affected it. Then we had to do further reshoots later on in the year. I can't recall. I think the last shot I did was in July 2018, I think. But then I know that a few more reshoots carried on after that.
Yeah, we did some much later in the year. It must have been. It must have been after. Must have been November or December even of 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a long time, and I think there's the other thing as well that we're saying. And I know I showed this clip last time, and I kind of had decided not to show it because it was just a repeat of the clip. But kind of now that we've kind of going into this kind of part of the conversation, I think it's quite apt. Dan, it's another clip of yourself. Nothing to panic about at all. But the continuity issue is the continuity issue was a problem in that when I think there was the occasion where there was trying to film something again, but unfortunately because the other people weren't available. Dan,
yes.
you had to do a stand-in and you had to improvise. I think I was asking the question in the. Sorry, I'm getting tangled up with my own wires and cables. I think I asked the question in the last video about was there like a stunt double, because you were also appearing as one of the other characters who couldn't make it into one of the rehearsal kind of fight scenes.
Mm-hmm. This was a female combat, and luckily Erica brought in a wig. I was already in the combat outfit, so they just decided, okay, if we angle it right, then we can film Dan with the wig without showing his face.
And so let's just watch that clip now as a little treat. We've been chatting for a little while, so I think it's nice to kind of give people another little clip rather than just kind of bringing everything to a close. Manipulating my mouse across different screens and what have you. So although we did show this one in the last one, I don't think it kind of hurts kind of like showing it again.
No.
So this is not on my script. No, I've got rid of it. Sorry, I can't show it. Oh my goodness.
No. Let's see Dan as a lady.
Whoa, she's a lady.
I've built that up so much to put it in there. I'm going to have to try and let's try and figure this out.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Like Little Britain was like, I'm a lady zombie.
Now, careful, Paul.
The audience must be satisfied.
Right.
Oh,
as
man.
soon as I change this, right.
It was such good fun, though.
I'm playing with technology. That says preview. That says program. So carry on talking, so that I can change the.
Meanwhile,
I love standing in for other characters, because then it just brings out the illusion still, and the fact that it was filmed just made it that much more tricky.
Yeah.
So luckily, Erica did get that wig out, and it actually worked. Didn't it?
It's a good job kept the costumes, really. I think it was another thing. So Erica said, "Oh, we need to do some more shooting." It's a good job I still had the costume available.
Yeah, I still wear mine.
About that.
So like the army hoodie, I still wear mine.
Oh yeah, I've got the jumper.
Nice.
It's not my colour at all, but it's nice and warm.
It is nice and warm, especially in the winter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember everyone was in the outdoor scenes. Everyone was kind of cold, except for the combats, because they were doing all the running and exercises.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we were not bothered by it.
Oh, and you had the really cool headsets that Becca made.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
They looked really good.
They were good at first, but then it kept breaking. It was the thing. It's like oh, this one's broken now, Becca. Oh, just get some sellotape. We just strap it to the head.
Yeah.
I think it's going to glue it to yours, Dan. Yeah, it's a bit problematic. Yeah.
You're doing a great job of improvising. Please keep improvising.
Okay. We keep mugging. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. So.
Yes. Yes.
Indeed. Yes, lovey. Yes. Darling, darling, lovey, lovey, darling, darling, lovey. I mean, a song. Yeah. I know this squad for a song now.
What were your guys' memorable?
What was your biggest kind of? What was? We're going to ask you kind of more of a positive question in a moment, but what was your kind of biggest frustrations on the on set?
Frustrations. I think for Nanette it was the toilet tent, definitely. Great close to amusement. Frustration. I think it was the hanging round. It's because it is such a different experience from being on stage. I'm not someone who likes hanging around. I'm someone who fidgets a lot.
Fidgets and eats biscuits.
Yeah, especially if there's biscuits involved. But it's I just want to get on with doing things. So I found that a bit frustrating. And also, it was we were working with fairly basic conditions, really, because it's an indie film. It's very low budget. So it's not like in a full-scale film where you have trailers and whatnot, and like a restaurant caterers, and that, as our caterers were the aforementioned biscuits, frankly, which are going soggy in the field. A rapidly cooling thermos flask of Bovril and coffee. But it was these are minor frustrations, really, but they are. It teaches you patience, I think.
Yeah. So from a personal point of view, something that I really struggled with because I don't have really experience in filming stuff, I really struggled to know how loud to speak.
Yeah.
Because, when you're doing your actor stuff, you're projecting, and if you're
must
projecting,
enunciate to the back row.
Yeah, exactly. And it was trying to find that balance where you're not just like doing the Marlon Brando, and no one can hear you, instead of So
that was properly tricky. Yeah, that was really tricky because unfortunately, if it was a major, I was supposed to be shouty anyway, so I could get away with it. But it was if you're filming outside, projection is a serious issue because it gets lost in space very easily. So it's a very fine art between the actor projecting their voice and the filmographer actually picking up the voice as well and getting into the right angle. So it's a very fine art indeed. So I think it can be a cause of frustration on both sides.
I suppose it was also frustrating if you're speaking outside and a strong gust of wind hits, which muffles the sound, and then you've got to do that speech all over again, and then another gust of wind comes like probably later towards the end of the shoot. I can imagine
that. Car drives past.
No,
yeah.
Yes. Damn you, real life. Oh, goodness me. Right, so hopefully I've had a kind of all the little minions in the back room have been putting things together. So hopefully we can see the scene that I was referring to. Please work. If it doesn't work, then that's fine. We'll just come back.
You have to use your imagination.
Exactly. Yeah. So hopefully this is... we've lost. Dan, he's disappeared.
Oh, there
we go.
Sorry, I'm back. Hello.
You switch the camera off. It takes you completely off of my view and what have you. So this is... Dan doing a stunt double. Fingers crossed. Please work. Please. This is live. This is live.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, Mandy.
I'm ready for my close-up, darling. Couldn't afford me.
Because obviously we would have had the other thing.
Okay. Action.
Cease.
Oh, Mandy.
I'm ready for my close-up, darling.
That nearly worked. It was nearly perfect. But yes, but apparently I love the bit that you start off with, like, I'm ready for my close-up, darling. It's very much... It was... what's her name out of... oh my goodness, it's... Incredibles.
Oh yeah, the designer.
Edna.
Yes. I'm ready for my close-up, darling. Please be quick. I'm very busy. I have lots of things to do. You may watch things. Go. Do your thing now.
You're the best, Edna. I know, darling. I
know. There was a great question. Elmo asked another cracking question. Elmo, you're full of really great questions today. Thank you so much. And everybody is just full of some brilliant questions. This is really great. I hope you're all enjoying the conversation, staying with us, and I hope you're enjoying it in the room as well. So apparently, Karen Brown saying that, so Peter's comeback name should be Danielle. Okay.
Especially with that wig.
Was there any issues with the filming, because the filming was taking over such a long time? Were there any issues with people having different hairstyles, different haircuts between the shoots?
I had a completely
With his hair,
different
seriously,
colour at
no
one
problem.
point.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm sorry, Paul.
I mean,
Nah,
look, I mean,
it's all good
just,
now.
I just go, that's it, it's sorted.
I
Sorry.
remember Ziva cut a fringe because we thought it was all done, and then something went wrong. I think the phone broke, or like the stuff didn't save on the cloud or something, and Ziva had a fringe cut, and we had to reshoot some scenes where she obviously didn't have a fringe. And my hair was a slightly different color because we thought we'd finished, and then we had to go back.
God.
But you know, I hadn't even noticed that at all. I'm gonna have
Oh,
to.
that's great.
I'm gonna have to
also
go
got
back.
quite-
I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
I also got pregnant in between as well. So when we were doing the last bit of filming, I was already pregnant. I was saying to Erica, this needs to be the last because you're gonna have a pregnant Alex soon.
An intriguing plot twist.
Yes, that's going to be some like frame by frame photoshopping. That's just going to be quite interesting. Really, really cool. Just so, okay, this is the last kind of question. Thank you for everybody that's viewing online. I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope some of us are going to connect up for an after party. I've still got wine. I've still got a glass to drink. So, what was your most memorable moment of the whole thing? The most memorable moment of the whole thing. So I'm going to go around each of you in turn. So I'm going to start off with Dan. I'm going to ask you first. What was your most memorable moment of the whole production of the film?
Oh, that's actually a really tough question. There were so many memorable and enjoyable moments that, but I have to pick one. Oh, damn, this is really, this is a really hard question, actually. I would have to say all of the outdoor fighting scenes that me and the other combats had, it was just such a literal breath of fresh air. You're amongst all of your friends and actors and just really going all out. You're training in the woods, you're fighting. It makes you feel like you're in the actual military training up. And well, I'm a very energetic person, so yeah. This is a very hard question, actually. Yeah.
Cool, that's amazing. Thank you. Paul, what is your most memorable moment of being involved in the film?
Okay, so I think just two things there. Of the filming itself, it's probably, it's certainly the outdoor scenes, I think. When we went on out into the woods and we were doing those parts, simply because it was technically challenging to do. And it was working under conditions that weren't necessarily ideal, but pulling together to do that. But I think also it was the pre-filming bit, I recall, which is actually the read-through, which is one of the more pleasurable things you do when you're performing, is when you get together with a cast for the first time and you're reading through the script together. I've always enjoyed doing that kind of bit, because that's where you start looking at the script and start analysing it and getting some ideas and feels for the script and the mouth feel of the character, as it were. So I found that very memorable. But yeah, it's that and shooting outside on
Thank you. And Nanette?
I recall the bit in the truck. It was quite an awesome truck.
Everyone loves
it just looked pretty cool, to be fair. I mean, it does look pretty awesome.
I don't know if it was proper military equipment or what, but everything else was kind of, you had to use your imagination, because it's a hall, but it's actually a military barracks, and it's just a random office, but we've turned it into my bedroom. So there's all a bit of imagination. But sitting in that truck with all the combats, with all the other people in their costumes, it felt for a moment like I was there.
Amazing.
And then Zoe hanging off the back of it ruined it a bit. Like still, it was an amazing moment.
Brilliant.
It really was.
That's fantastic. So
And
thank you.
can I say one more thing? And I'm sure that Nanette and Paul will agree on this. This whole experience has really, and I quote, created a bond between not only characters but also all of the actors and all the production teams. I feel that everyone has got really close together during this production, so I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, it was.
And that's the great thing, that you can see that shine through the film as well. I mean, I in many ways, because I've only been involved in the post production, I feel kind of like I've missed out on all that. I wish I'd kind of like, but even from these chats, that we've had with the practice and this chat today, because I don't know you in real life, other than the practice that we done the other day, and it would be an absolute pleasure that once all the lockdown thing is finished to kind of get to know you all, because I know that you're all kind of lovely people. So, thank you, thank you for your kind of contributions to the film, to your efforts and what have you. We do Thiele, I've been waiting to ask this question. She keeps on typing it in. It's like, will you? I just feel like there's like, can you just tell her to ask this question, please? God damn it. When can people see the film? And you're going to go, I don't know, because it's like Erica's Erica and Zoe. So I know Erica and Zoe are working very hard and putting together the final kind of finishing touch to the film. I'm also quite involved with the post production on the soundtrack, and we're going through that. Very soon, I think is what we're saying at the moment. Obviously, depending on what's going on at the moment, as to whether that's going to be like an online launch where we'll be able to watch it online to start off with, because obviously there's the social distancing thing is in place, and there's kind of restrictions on how things can be seen in theatres and stuff, but I hope that there will be sort of like a lovely kind of red carpet thing that we can do, because that would be just so amazing. But the main thing is to stay connected with the Facebook page for the Bond. Look out for the announcements that are on there. There's little bits of kind of teasers and clips and things and what have you. I'm desperate to show you more clips and what have you, but I know there's a kind of, Zoe's got this wonderful plan that she's pulled together about how different bits are and what have you are going to be released. So you are going to see more things coming out about the film very, very soon. You are going to see more information around when you're going to get the opportunity to see the film very, very soon. But obviously, do understand, because the situation that we're all in, it's very difficult to kind of go through the finessing of that final rounds of the post production, just to make sure that everything's ready. But I promise you, it's going to be worth the wait, because it is one of the most incredible things to watch, and you will get lost in the whole kind of the story. It has so much more meaning now because of where we find ourselves, but it certainly is going to be a great thing. And Erica just put in the chat as well the exclusive. You heard it here first, or you read it in the chat first. For those that like, she keeps it going on. Tori, hey Tori. Online release is a go-go.
Well, hey.
We're aiming. Erica's going, I can confirm, she says we're aiming, basically. That's what it means, aiming, at the start of June. So
excellent. Yeah.
it's
Well,
really, really, really close. So we're already into May. So we're looking about literally weeks away, and I can't wait. It's one of those things like it would be great if we could do like a big Zoom, like almost like a Google Box watch. So we're all watching, but we're all watching each other as to our own reactions of the film. But I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of like live watch thing that we can do, or something. Stay tuned to the Bond Facebook page. I'm Sophie Sheenan from Colours and Fires. Follow my page, Colours and Fires. You get to hear some of the music that is in the film. Nanette, thank you so much for your time. I know that you have a very busy life with your family and everything. So thank you so much for being in the film, your contribution, and having such a wonderful chat today. Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your jokes and what have you. And I now know that when I get to meet you in person, apparently I have to have a pack of biscuits in my
absolutely
my handbag,
or a bottle of wine,
and I can just
wine and biscuits.
I can throw that in the distance in the corner, and you'll scurry off, and then you'll be quite happy for the rest of the night.
Absolutely.
Dan, again, thank you so much for your participation in tonight, and all of you for answers and for all the questions and what have you. It's going to be
Sophie.
It's so exciting to be involved in this project. Thank you to Zoe. Thank you to Erica for even conjuring up the craziness of the idea in the first place. Pulling this all together. I'm going to hand it back to yourselves to say one final thing of kind of like goodbye and what have you to everybody. So from me, goodbye, and I'm going to hand it back, and if each of you, Nanette, Paul, let's do Paul, Dan, and then Nanette to say goodbye, and then we'll close it all out.
Okay, so goodbye. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you come and see the film. I believe it will be released online in a few weeks, so come and see it. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you very much for tuning in. All of you stay safe, and hope that you enjoy the film when it comes out. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and effort and just sitting through this with all of us and listening to us chat on for ages. I hope you have a lovely evening. Stay safe, and hopefully see you again at some point. And thank you, Sophie.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're very welcome. It's my absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Sophie.
Thank you. Right, to everybody else, let's do one big wave for everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.